this week we're going to outline to you what we're expecting from this year's AGM conference, where we've got a charity evening event being introduced for the first time. This week we're going to... If you have any questions, can you pop them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, please, rather than the chat function. If you could use the Q&A, which is a little waving hand. And could you also be aware that this webinar is being recorded live onto YouTube, and it will be available there later on for you to watch at your leisure. Each year, we're obliged to hold an annual general meeting, or AGM, for members only. And this year, we've chosen the Coniston Hotel, Country Estate and Spa near Skipton as the venue. The AGM is where we elect our council, and standing groups deliver their reports to members, and we also have at that point the election of officers taking place. We also produce a printed annual report, and that's available for members to take away and read at their leisure. The AGM is really where we carry out our official business requirements of the association, and it's what I call the starter to the planned day, where the Ground Source Heat Pump Association actually will showcase itself, not only to its members, but also to the wider public. The conference that follows the AGM is available to all non-members, and we encourage you to come along. One of the first changes I made when I took on the chair of marketing was to introduce an annual Members' Day, conference and networking events. It was a natural sort of main course following the AGM starter, and it's an ideal opportunity for us to get together to hear from selected speakers, have experts in the industry to answer individual specific questions, and allow for plenty of networking to take place around our industry. I considered that the time of year for any event is important for its success, and so the marketing committee chose autumn for this event, because many people are thinking about putting on their heating systems. They're thinking about heating in preparation for the winter months, and the summer holidays are a thing of the past for them. We've had very successful annual conferences so far. We had one at the Rico Arena in Coventry. We've had two at the Aston Marina near Stone, and two at the National Motorcycle Museum. Those venues were all Midlands based, and there have been a number of calls for a northern venue for some time from our members. And so this year's event and venue is in response to that. And next year I will be looking for a southern venue to even things out a little bit. The hotel offers us a number of indoor and outdoor spaces, and this has been really an important part of us selecting a venue where the COVID rules and social distancing can actually be adhered to. We've added a little extra to our main course this year, and as well as the usual series of coordinated expert panel sessions, presentations and networking events, we're offering delegates the opportunity to have a little bit of fun with some optional activities such as clay pigeon shooting, archery, or Land Rover rallying. These can be booked as a part of a delegate's sort of own selected itinerary, with presentations, ask the expert sessions mixed in, so the delegates can choose their day around what's on offer. The day's planned for members and non-members to come along, get some advice, listen to industry updates, relax a bit, enjoy some good food as they enjoy a Yorkshire welcome, the bacon roll and tea and coffee in the morning refreshments, and a Yorkshire tapas lunch buffet. And that's all included. It's not a members only event, and we encourage non-members to register and come to find out about what the Ground Source Heat Pump Association are doing within the heat pump industry. This year, we've got a really impressive lineup of speakers and experts available. Our confirmed speakers are shown on the slide and include representatives of the Government Department of Business, Energy and Industry Strategy, or BEIS, the British Drilling Association, or the BDA, Chartered Institution of Building Services Engineers, or CIBSE, the Regulatory Assistance Project, or RAP, and the Association for Decentralised Energy. There's still more to confirm their attendance, and we do promise some interesting and informative discussion on the day. We will also have our Ask the Expert panels available. This is where we have a platform which runs through the day, and the delegates can book to attend a session. Experts will include Ian Rippon of MCS, David Kemp for Pure Plus, Caroline Bragg of ADE, Richard Fielden of the BDA, and David Sampson of Elvinklinger. And we have representatives from the Environment Agency. They each have a table where you can book a session with them to go sit in a small group to ask your own questions to each individual expert. Again, we'll be expecting more to be added to this list as we creep closer to the event. And the idea is that delegates can timetable their day by booking slots to listen to a presenter, ask an expert, and enjoy the extra activities available at the hotel. In other words, some work, some play, planned and structured to suit each delegate. We offer a range of opportunities as well for everybody to get involved, whether you're a member, potential member, or just have an interest in our industry. The AGM and conference is free, free to members. We're offering non-members registration at £60, which is refundable if they decide to become members on the day. There are the options for external agencies to be a speaker, to present to conference or host an Ask the Expert area, where delegates can put their questions directly to them. In the past, we have been accused of it just being members to members talking to one another. And so we prefer that the presenters and the Ask the Expert are non-members and from external sources to encourage much more varied and precise content. There's also an option of a pop-up exhibition stand for all members at £300 for the day and at £400 for non-members. You could also provide us with some handout leaflets or any other promotional materials that you have, such as pens and things like that, to go into our delegate bags, which we have pre-printed and they're given to each delegate on the day. And the cost to go into one of those bags, your items to go in one of those bags, is £25 for members, £35 for non-members. We're also offering various sponsorships within the event. So, for example, sponsoring the cost of breakfast, refreshments, welcome drinks at the evening event, or wine on the table. The slide shows the scale of the costings for that, where breakfast can be sponsored at £350 for members or £400 for non-members. Mid-morning refreshments, £250 for members, £300 for non-members. The Yorkshire Tapas Buffet Lunch, we're looking for sponsorship there of about £2,000 for members, £2,500 for non-members, and that can be and has in the past been divided between two sponsors. Mid-morning refreshments, £250 for members, £300 for non-members. The charity dinner in the evening, if you wanted to sponsor the drinks on arrival, that would be £800 for members or £1,000 for non-members. And if you wanted to put wine on the tables, which is probably be a very popular choice for many, 2 bottles of house red and 2 house white would be on each table. And that's at a cost of £1,000 for members and £1,250 for non-members. Anybody that does that sponsoring will automatically get the free exhibition pop-up stand, which is worth £300, as well as the option to add their promotional materials to a bag. So that's worth £325 to members, £435 to non-members. I've always believed that we should also provide an annual evening event for members to be able to invite other non-members, including their partners, customers and friends, and enjoy an evening out, you know, maybe as a thank you for their customers, staff or their long-suffering partners. Never has there been a better time to let your hair down a bit as we come out of a horrendous year of social restrictions. And so we're trying to arrange a night to remember. It's not a formal dinner dance, but something where you can have fun, have some good food, raise some money for charity. This could include an awards ceremony, and I'm considering that for upcoming years, but for this year, I'm introducing a charity fundraising event. I've managed to secure my friend Ricky Tomlinson, or Jim Royal, to be our host, and you will not be disappointed as the evening also includes drinks on arrival, 3-course gala dinner, an excellent local live band, a charity auction, the very unique Ricky's Raffle, and this will be for Macmillan Cancer, because that's our council's chosen charity. There'll also be a Ricky's quiz for those fans of Jim Royal. We welcome anyone with an interest in the industry to come along and join us. Or maybe we'll just have an army of Ricky fans, but whichever way it goes, we're promised a fun evening. Ricky's Raffle, auction and quiz. I'm sure you can imagine Ricky's got unique ideas for these sorts of things, and I have borne witness to some of this a couple of times. We're actually looking for some cash donations because we want to give £1,000 first prize on the raffle. And it is a raffle like no other. Charity auction, we're looking for items that might be of use to our audience, including trade materials, which the general public might not really find of interest at all. You know, the heat pump industry, you know, we've got all the bits and pieces that are, you know, useful to us, but not other people. But they could be something for the charity auction that's just a little bit different. And actually, we'd welcome anything that you would put in to a charity auction for us. And then we've got a charity quiz where we're hoping each table will pit against each other to win a small prize. And all the proceeds from the raffle, the auction and the quiz will go to Macmillan Cancer Support. Council voted to support Macmillan Cancer Support at this event. And Adele Burrough from Macmillan will explain a little bit about that at the end of my section of this webinar. There will be collection boxes throughout the conference for those who can't stay for the evening event. As I mentioned, the hotel we've chosen provides excellent facilities, rooms with amazing views, and the option of booking into their spa suite. By booking our event on a Friday, the delegates may take the option of booking into the hotel overnight or for the weekend, so they can enjoy what the hotel has to offer and the stunning local countryside. Rooms are at a discounted rate of £150 per double room, including breakfast for 2 people. Be sure to mention that you are with the Ground Source Heat Pump Association party in order to qualify for that discounted rate for the night of the 22nd of October. Rooms and estate activities can be booked directly by phoning the Coniston Hotel on the number shown on the slide and quoting GSHPA or Ground Source Heat Pump Association. The rooms will be on a first come first served basis, but there is a Premier Inn located nearby in Gargrave. We want our members, delegates and associates to have a 24-hour experience to enjoy and remember. So what's the cost? Okay. The AGM and conference are free to our members, and that includes breakfast, lunch and refreshments. Non-members will be asked to pay £60 per person. Should they decide to join us, that will be credited off their initial invoice. We're limited to 120 people at the charity dinner, which is 12 tables of 10. And so we recommend that you book early to avoid disappointment. It's open to anyone, including members, their guests and non-members. We have an early bird booking discount, whereas bookings taken before the 1st of June will be £65 for the charity dinner for one person, an individual ticket. 2 tickets, £120, or a table of 10, £550. After the 2nd of June, the charity dinner will cost a little bit more, where we go to £80 for an individual, £150 for 2, or a table of 10 at £750. I can raise an invoice through GSHPA for this, and payment does not have to be in until the 31st of August. To book the extra activities, such as the archery or the hotel room, could you please contact the hotel directly and mention GSHPA? And the dress code, all important dress code, is smart casual or dress to impress. So if any of what we're offering appeals to you, then I'll leave you with details of our social media links, where regular updates will be made, as well as Eventbrite links so that you can register. We really hope you'll join us, but please do book early, as we don't want to disappoint anyone. But if there are larger than expected numbers for the conference through the day, we can extend the space there, but not for the evening event. We've got 120 limit on the room, and I think at the moment I've got 42 registered dinner guests. So please do book early to avoid being disappointed. So I would like to say thank you for your attention, and do share our posts on social media and register to join us. What do we want to do? Well, we want to raise the awareness of the industry. We want to raise awareness within the industry. We want to raise as much as we can from Macmillan, and perhaps even we might raise the roof a little bit as we let our hair down. In the words of Denise Royal, let's mingle and make ground source heat pumps the heating and cooling of the future. So I'm now going to hand you over to Adele Burrough from Macmillan to explain a little bit about the charity.
Oh, thanks, Andrea. That's great. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm just going to share my screen. I've got a small presentation just to show you. So hopefully you'll be able to see this in one moment. Oh. Can you see that? Let's just have a look. Let me try that again.
Yeah, we could see that, Adele, just to let you know.
Could you see that okay?
It's fine.
Okay, fabulous.
Fine, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fabulous. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Macmillan. What you maybe know about us, what you maybe don't know about us, and these are some of the bits that I'm going to cover today. I'm going to talk about who we are, where we began, what we do, and the impact of the coronavirus in 2020, one of our worst years in our 100-year history, our response, and then I'll look to the future. Okay, so I'm not sure if any of you know, but many of our kind of initially starts from being Macmillan was founded over 100 years ago by Douglas Macmillan. Now, this is Douglas. He sadly lost his father to cancer, and he was actually, before his father died, Douglas was gifted £10, and he used that to fund, at the time, what was the Society for the Prevention of Relief of Cancer. And he basically took this £10 and gave it to people that were affected by cancer to heat their homes. So back, obviously, in those times, it was, even more so relevant, to keep their homes heated, that he gave this £10. And even years on, 100 years after when we first started, that is something that we still do. We still support people with heating their homes. One of the statements that Douglas Macmillan made was, we stand for betterness when it comes to cancer care, services and treatment. And still to this day, that is exactly what we do. So right now, the UK is sitting on a potential cancer time bomb. Macmillan's been sort of helping people living with cancer for over a century. And in all that time, patients or the NHS have never faced such sort of a challenging circumstances as they do currently with the coronavirus. Sort of being affected by cancer is challenging at any time, but the coronavirus pandemic has just added, obviously, an extra layer and fear for a lot of people. And it's having a devastating impact on a lot of people's lives. People with cancer have had life-saving treatments cancelled, postponed, sort of fewer are being diagnosed, and obviously all the staff shortages with cancer treatments across the UK. People have been forced to face cancer alone and isolated, like a lot of us. We've had to spend times in our homes away from everybody that we know. But not only are we having to do that, people with cancer are going through that journey as well themselves on their own. They've had to contend with the practical, the financial and the emotional consequences of having a cancer diagnosis during a pandemic. And, the complex sort of support and needs are increasing, and we're struggling to sort of meet that demand. People are dying, and pre-COVID, approximately about 1,000 people a day would hear the words, "You've got cancer." And today, because of the restricted appointments, cancer testing, and people being too frightened to leave the house, a lot of people, not going to the GPs for signs and symptoms that maybe you would have done in times pre-COVID. The number probably stands at about 200 a day now. So before we were getting 1,000 people every day being diagnosed. Now it just stands at around 200. Obviously, this isn't, you know, good enough, and we need to be there for all these people and deal with the influx moving forward. So at Macmillan, we are taking the steps to limit the damage by increasing the funding to our NHS and safeguarding our cancer services. We're working tirelessly to innovate our services across the UK, and we're ensuring that we continue to be there for people who desperately need us. We've had some really difficult decisions as an organisation to achieve this. We've had to reduce staff, cut non-essential services, but we've done this because we did it with confidence. We wanted to show that we're committed to providing the best outcomes for people affected by cancer, and that ethos is truly the heart of everything that we do. We want everyone that's with cancer to know that they can actually turn to us, and we're here to help from the point of diagnosis and through sort of the treatment and beyond. And to achieve this, we'll actually do whatever it takes. I am going to share a video to go out with this after, because I would like you to see our advert. But now I'm going to tell you a little bit about sort of how cancer sort of affects people and the unique sort of complex needs that people have during this time. So at cancer diagnosis, you might be concerned with your life expectancy or how you're going to break the news to the family. During treatment, you might be scared of sort of some changes in your appearance due to chemotherapy, so it might be a bit of weight loss or your skin. You might also be worrying about paying the bills if you're unable to work. And like after treatment, you might be questioning whether you're the same person, having gone through significant sort of psychological and physical changes. Our history of supporting people with cancer is putting them at the heart of everything that we do, and ensuring that we do that and take into all these complex needs. It's been increasingly difficult in the last year with the disruption of sort of the diagnosis and treatment, not to mention the added pressure of this social isolation. But with that in mind, these are just some of the ways that we are still helping to support people. So physically, practically, emotional and financially. I'm going to look at some of these services that we support nationally and that we've brought in during the coronavirus pandemic. Nationally, our services have been instrumental in helping people during lockdown, and especially for 250,000 people that have been forced to self-isolate. Our online communities had over 100,000 active users last year, and we overhauled the platform to make sure that we could continue to deliver the best user experience, and a process that continues to this day as we receive feedback from the users. It's there 24/7, so if you're up in the middle of the night worried about your diagnosis or your treatment, you can log on. Somebody will more than likely be having those same feelings, and they're there for you. We've also brought in a new telephone buddying service, which is in a welfare service. It's volunteer fronted, and it's amazing. We've not been able to give that face-to-face support, so through local volunteers we've managed to work them through the pandemic, train them, and they're supporting over 2,500 people just by speaking to them on the phone, you know, for a period of time and giving them that support. And then the last one is our flagship telephone support service. Oh, I seem to nip back there. Our telephone support service. Now, the telephone support service runs for 365 days a year, offering free confidential advice for people that have been affected by cancer. Not just the people that are going through the cancer treatment, but actually the family and anybody that's affected, whether that be work colleagues, whether that be friends. You know, we're there for everybody. In March, when we went into lockdown, we were able to actually redeploy our teams to work from home in just 2 weeks, sort of minimising the disruption. And sort of by 6 weeks, we were up to full speed. A lot of our teams were working at home, so that was the cancer nurse specialist, our welfare rights team. We were there at the end of the phone. Last year, we also, 2019, we also managed to get our support line running over Christmas. So that was the first time that we actually were open 365 days. And we wouldn't be able to do that without the public support. As I mentioned, with the COVID pandemic, everybody was affected, and Macmillan decided to launch our first emergency appeal. It had a target of around £5 million, and Macmillan pledged to donate a further £7 million to tackle our COVID response fund. As of October last year, I don't have the most up-to-date figures, but we'd funded 71 support workers and 59 nurses, and further investments were being made into local communities. We also set up a COVID response hub. So on our website, people could go on and see how, if they were going through cancer treatment, how they could get that additional support, without having to have that face-to-face contact. We don't want cancer to become the forgotten sea. Cancer was here before COVID and will be here after. And it's vitally important that we continue with, to be there for people with our, we need to do that as with fundraising. Macmillan is 98% funded by donations, which is absolutely huge. In Yorkshire alone last year, we actually lost over £1 million. We anticipate that we were going to be a third of our income down due to the pandemic. So we had to get savvy, we had to get smart, and we brought in some virtual fundraising ideas. So we adapted our sort of fundraising models. In normal circumstances, I'm out and about meeting people, supporting them with their events. Like I say, in October, I'm hoping to be there and meet everybody on the evening. But we experimented with lots of different ideas. We needed to get with the current times and get virtual. Some worked better than others. But what we needed to do was keep people engaged. The first picture on the slide there is an example of how we'd had to adapt that. We brought a games night in, so there was we did an escape room. We also did like a horse racing night, quiz night, and whodunit, and these were all, fundraising things that could be done online, which is, it is fabulous because, like everybody, we still wanted a bit of fun, even though we were trapped in staying in our own homes. The second one is from our flagship event. So people still pulled out all the stops for the world's biggest coffee morning. I'm sure you've all had one of the world's biggest coffee mornings, had a cup of tea, had a coffee, had a piece of cake. It is one of our biggest events, as I've said, and we all supported that as well by using the QR codes to make donations easier for our supporters. As I said, we put together lots of fundraising ideas for people, and people have really got on board with that. Our usual Green Army of volunteers had to pause, but in normal times we were out there supporting people with a range of volunteering opportunities. So just like our telephone buddies, where it was volunteer led, so volunteers picking up the phone to people going through treatment. We also had bucket collections, events up and down the UK, with some of our famous ones being like the Mighty Hikes. We've got one in the Yorkshire Dales, we've got one down the Thames Path, we've got one in Rob Roy, we've got one all over the UK this year, and we're hoping to come back with an absolute bang there to get back out there and get raising some money. We've got a dedicated volunteer village page, and this actually helps people sign up. I do apologise, the slides keep jumping. We do have a dedicated volunteer page, which give people the opportunity to sign up and do something that works for them. And we've also got an initiative called Macmillan Neighbours, where we train colleagues to understand how to talk to people affected by cancer. This also links in with our work support team, where actually we can support businesses throughout, with their HR departments, or how to speak to colleagues and how to speak to managers. And again, it's a way that we work, not only just it's being there to support everybody that has potentially had a cancer diagnosis or has family or friends going through that. So as I said, 98% of our income comes from amazing supporters. So a huge thank you, to everybody at GSHPA and supporting us with their charity dinner. Whether it's through fundraising, volunteering the time, or just spreading the word, we're so grateful. The impact of COVID means we're not reaching as many people as we usually would. And we launched a campaign encouraging people to get help, and we want people to know that we're still there and we will continue to do whatever it takes. Cancer affects your whole life. Macmillan takes the time to understand people's individual needs so they can get the support that's right for them, whether that's financial, physical, emotional, practical. We understand that everyone's experiences will be slightly different, and we want to support them in the best way for them. We treat people as people and not patients, and the money that you're going to raise throughout your event will continue to help us do that. Cancer has a massive impact on people's lives, and you helping support this event will help us to be there moving forward and into the future. Macmillan's known for nurses and our health professionals, but one of the things that I've mentioned already, we have our online support, our telephone support line where we've got financial advisors. We've also got up and down the country local information and support centres that people can pop into and get any bits of leaflets and things once we are kind of back out there. One of the key signs and symptoms piece of merchandise that I like to talk about is a signs and symptoms card. It's a credit card size resource. It explains signs and symptoms. One side's guys, one side's women. Talks about the different signs and symptoms and things to look after. Costs us 9p to produce one of these. So for about £17, I think it is, we produce 200. And actually that £17, that's not even a takeaway. That's not, you can go out to the supermarket, buy a bit of food, and your bill will come to much more than that. £17 could help 200 people go to the doctors. They could ring the support line off the back. It's just little things like this where you can make such a huge difference to a lot of people's lives. I'm going to end my presentation shortly, but I want to tell you a little bit about Sam. This is Sam. Now, Sam's from Leeds. Sam is just an absolutely amazing guy. He is somebody that I know, I've spoken to. Sam supported us a lot with a recent appeal that we did. So Sam was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma 3 years ago. He was just 28. And he said that he remembered being in the shower and he got a lump on his neck. He said it appeared out of nowhere. He wasn't sort of too worried. He thought it might be sort of a cyst or an allergy. He's a young guy, fit, healthy, but decided to go get it checked out. So over the next couple of weeks, he had some blood tests. He had an ultrasound scan and a biopsy, and he was later diagnosed with cancer. I remember him saying, he says his life wasn't sort of going great at that point. He'd been diagnosed with cancer. He'd actually lost his job and his household income. I mean, for any of us, that's absolutely terrifying to think that you're going to be in that position. But it was the next day that he met his Macmillan nurse, and she actually played a key role in keeping him sane, as he put it. So within a month of finding the lump in his neck, Sam had was started receiving treatment. He was getting chemotherapy. He was told that his treatment was working and that he was in remission from cancer. Sam was so grateful for the Macmillan support he received, and he sort of said the Macmillan nurse was so good to him. She translated everything, because when you're going through and you've been told something like that, it's quite hard to digest everything. So she translated the information into easier terms for him to kind of get his head round and understand what cancer really meant for him. He'd actually mentioned that 2 weeks prior to his diagnosis that he'd been made redundant, and his Macmillan nurse helped him fill in the forms. And within a couple of days, he'd actually received a Macmillan grant for £500, and it made a massive difference, because having cancer isn't cheap. That's not something you expect to have to think about when you're diagnosed with cancer. But you can't necessarily always take the bus to appointments because of a lowered immune system, and you might have to get taxis, which is it's incredibly expensive. The money did help Sam, and sort of for the 2 months between starting his treatment and finding out it was working, he was kind of at his lowest point, and he said again, his Macmillan nurse kept him sane. The support and reassurance actually meant the world to him. Having given Sam that Macmillan grant, I'll just tell you very quickly about what Macmillan grants are. This is one of the ways that we can support people right here and right now. They're sort of one-off means tested charitable payments to help with the extra costs that living with cancer can bring. So they can be used for things like energy bills, home sort of adaptations, cost of travel. It can also help around, for instance, clothing. You might lose some weight during your chemotherapy, and you know, your Macmillan grant could help with that. Earlier this year, I'm pleased to say that Sam celebrated being in remission for 3 years, which is fantastic. It's a particular sort of significant milestone because for Sam, the type of cancer that he had, Hodgkin's lymphoma, it was highly unlikely to return after 3 years. So for Sam, once he'd hit that milestone, he actually really wanted to do some fundraising for us. He planned to do the 3 peaks with his friends and family in summer of 2020, and like everything else, it was kind of put on hold and postponed because of the pandemic, but he didn't want to let the milestone pass, and he actually organised his own fundraising around Leeds. So basically he ran 20 kilometres around Leeds with a target of £500. He set the £500 because that was the amount that made such a difference to him when he was at his lowest point, and he said, I want someone else that's sort of diagnosed with cancer to receive that lifeline that Macmillan gave him. He was motivated than ever. He actually did still do, when we had that little break last year of where you could sort of venture out a little bit, he did actually head off to the Yorkshire 3 Peaks and took part in that as well. He understands that obviously Macmillan services are in high demand, but obviously with our fundraising activity being postponed, he wanted to do something. The most significant and kind of poignant thing that Sam said to me is there at the top of the screen. Macmillan helped me out when I needed it the most, and I want to pay that back. And for me, that is just huge. You know, we help people. We're campaigners, we're fundraisers, we're volunteers, we are nurses, we are, benefits advisors. We want to be there for everybody at the point of diagnosis, and currently we're not doing that. And that's not good enough. Macmillan is wants to be, as I say, there for everybody that's diagnosed with cancer, supporting them in the right way. I want to obviously thank you all for listening today, and I hope you've learned a little bit about Macmillan that you didn't know. I am happy to take any questions, and please do take my details there should you want to contact me either on the phone or by email. You can drop me an email, and if there is anything that you want to chat or discuss, or even just want signposting to, do just let me know. I'll also put on there the end of our support line services. So our telephone number for our support line, which is there 7 days a week, 365 days a year, or you can visit macmillan.org.uk to get that support. Thanks very much. I'm not sure if we have any questions. I am going to stop sharing because it's very strange. I do like to see people.
If you could stop sharing. Thank you for that, Adele. Thank you very much. It was comprehensive. There is something that we discussed earlier. There's no questions at the moment in the questions, but one thing that we were discussing earlier was, would the support that the Ground Source Heat Pump Association raise at their events be just local or not? And we did establish that the Ground Source Heat Pump Association has got national and international members, and many members who live overseas have been accessing Macmillan throughout this time. So we have established that the money that we raise will be used internationally. It won't just be sort of going into the local North Yorkshire pot. It will be raised internationally. So I think we've kind of addressed that one. The other thing that I would just like to finish with is that Stephen and I are working on trying to get the raffle tickets printed, because if we can get them printed, we can sell more. And we can perhaps hope that the members will take some books off us if we send them and sell them to their employees at work. And that way we can maximise how many we have. There we are. So I'd like to say thank you very much. I hope you'll join us on the 22nd. Please get in touch with us if you'd like to register, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.